What's going on, people? Machiavelli Mills TV. So look, y'all, I saw a topic posed on Twitter, and I really want to discuss this. Calling all boxing fans, right? So the question was, is Deontay Wilder, the Bronze Bomber, a Hall of Fame fighter? And as I surveyed my Twitter, I saw most of the people saying, no, hell no, hell no. Deontay Wilder ain't no Hall of Fame fighter, calling him the Bronze Bomber, calling him all type of Beyonce Wilder, all type of disrespectful stuff. He not no Hall of Famer. Hell no, hell no, hell no, hell no, right? And so I saw people saying no, and I'm going to provide a counter argument why Deontay Wilder will eventually become a Hall of Fame fighter, right? It will eventually happen, in my opinion. Now, I'm going to lay out all the arguments for why people are going to say he's not a Hall of Fame fighter. Let's discuss that, right? The first thing people are going to throw out there is the fact that most Hall of Fame caliber fighters have at least 3 dance partners, 3 opponents who are really good, really great, or at least elite. And they had great performances against those fighters, or they were classic fights, right? Deontay Wilder only has 1 elite fighter on his resume, and that's Tyson the Gypsy King Fury, right? That's the only elite fighter he has on his resume. He fought him 3 times, but he never garnered a victory. So people are going to say he didn't even win against a guy who was against the most elite guy on his resume, right? The only elite guy on his resume. Now, Luis Ortiz, on the other hand, people are going to act like Luis Ortiz was a bum, like he wasn't nobody, like he wasn't shit, like he was never no good fighter. I don't give a fuck what nobody was talking about, right? When Deontay Wilder fought Luis Ortiz in 2018, Luis Ortiz was a very formidable opponent. He was a very good fighter, right? Was very skilled, came from that Cuban background, and he could thump, he could crack, he can punch without question, right? So at that time, Luis Ortiz was a dangerous opponent for Deontay Wilder. Deontay was in trouble. He swam in deep waters, and he found a way to swim to shore, and he garnered the victory with a knockout in typical Deontay Wilder fashion, right? Losing rounds, but stopping a guy head on, right? But other than that, Deontay Wilder's best opponents were Dominic Breazeale and Bermane Stiverne, right? So he doesn't have these like other Hall of Fame fighters on his resume. He doesn't really have that except Tyson Fury. Now, another thing people are going to say is he doesn't pass the eye test. What I mean by that is, yes, we know Deontay Wilder is not a fundamentally sound fighter. He's not the guy that most people are used to watching, that they grew up watching in the 80s and the 90s. The heavyweights that can throw the most crisp jab, the most crisp hooks. They threw crisp uppercuts and so on and so forth. Deontay Wilder does not have that same type of fundamentals in his game. He never had that, right? So people are going to penalize him for that, right? You're going to have other people say things like he has never had a unification bout. Because as great as Tyson Fury is, Tyson Fury was never a champion when Deontay Wilder fought him, right? He wasn't a champion. So Deontay has no unification bouts under his belt. He doesn't have that on his resume. So people are going to say, look, you don't have a lot of Hall of Fame fighters. You only have 1 elite fighter. You don't have great fundamentals, and you don't have any unification bouts, right? Now, here are the reasons why I'm going to say I say he's going to eventually become a Hall of Fame fighter. Number 1, the dude has one of the highest knockout ratios, the highest knockout percentage in heavyweight boxing history. If he don't have the highest, I believe he has one of the highest. He is like 93 or 95% knockout ratio. That shit is insane. I don't give a fuck who they putting in front of you, who you fighting, right? I don't care who you fighting. If you lay those dudes down, majority of those dudes down, you're doing something great. You're doing something outstanding. Right now, people are going to say he fought majority of tomato cans. They were all tomato cans. Now, I ask y'all, majority of the people who Mike Tyson fought, and I know people don't want to say this, I'm not comparing Mike Tyson to Deontay Wilder in no shape, way, or form or fashion, right? Excuse me. But Mike knocked out a whole lot of goddamn tomato cans. A whole lot of them, right? But Mike couldn't help that. He fought the guys who were in front of him, and he laid them down. Deontay Wilder has dropped every single man he fought. He dropped them. Now, he didn't beat Tyson Fury, but he dropped them in two out of the 3 fights, right? So he has that punching power that people marvel at. That people basically that punching power is what attracts casuals to the sport, right? And he had a 95-93% knockout ratio. That shit is insane. Now, another thing that people are going to forget, sometimes a boxer's legacy, it's about the narrative. It's about the narrative. Sometimes it's not just going to be about the how many great fighters you fought, so on and so forth. It's about the narrative, y'all. When I'm looking at his narrative, Deontay Wilder was the only thing relevant, the only thing smoking in the heavyweight division in the United States of America in the past 15 years. He the only thing that was really, really smoking in the heavyweight division, for real, that had anything. We were non-existent. Americans were non-existent in the heavyweight picture. And it's so obvious that before Deontay Wilder's emergence, I can ask anybody, didn't nobody in America, that no casuals were paying attention to the heavyweight division in America. The Klitschko era, my mama, your girlfriend, your auntie, your uncle who don't watch sports, your granddaddy, he don't know who the fuck the Klitschko brothers were. Okay? Now, as great as they are, they could never get the American public to be enamored with boxing at all. Deontay Wilder brought the fanfare back to boxing. He brought butts back into the seats. Is what it is. He put asses into the seats. No matter how much you like him or not, no matter how much you think he's good or no matter how much you think he's trash or whatever, he brought eyes back into the sport, right? And another thing too, because people are going to talk about resume. People are going to say Deontay Wilder ain't fought nobody and he ain't beat nobody. I ask you all, who did Gennady Golovkin beat that was so great? Again, who the fuck did Gennady Golovkin beat who was so great? Now, there's no look. Gennady Golovkin, okay, he beat everybody. He beat nearly everybody that was in front of him, right? But who was his best win? Danny Jacobs? And I really like Danny, but y'all know, man, Danny was never like, Danny was very good, but he wasn't elite like that, right? He arguably lost against Sergey Derevyanchenko. Derevyanchenko beat him, in my opinion. Derevyanchenko beat Gennady Golovkin, right? Now, I do give him this, though. I give him this. In my opinion, he won that first fight against Canelo Alvarez. I don't care what nobody say. He won that first fight, in my opinion. But it wasn't awarded to him. So, on record, his best win, for real, is Danny Jacobs. Danny Jacobs is his best win. And all these time, Gennady Golovkin is a very good fighter. Very great fighter. A great fighter. But he don't have the dance partners that everybody says you need to have in order to be this elite of elite Hall of Famer. He don't have them. I go through the list. Danny Jacobs, the best person he got a W from. Outside of him, I believe he beat Canelo, but it wasn't awarded to him, right? So, people gonna look at that like he didn't get that W. So outside of that, his best win is Danny Jacobs. But nonetheless, let's get back to Deontay Wilder. I said he brought the attention back to the heavyweight division in America because before Deontay Wilder, the only fighter that Americans were watching was American casuals were watching was Floyd Mayweather Jr. That's it. That's all. Nobody else was what they didn't care about. Nobody else in boxing. Period. Only eyes that American casuals had. The eyes were only on Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Manny Pacquiao. I would say that, right? But outside of that, nobody was watching no heavyweights. So he brought that attention back only to where LeBron James, Magic Johnson, all these Hollywood elites, all of these, they were at the fights because America didn't have nothing in the heavyweight division. Nobody. I'm still looking for some real killers, man, in the heavyweight division. They're gonna call what's the boy, Jared Anderson or whatever, but until he really makes something shake, we don't know, right? Now, he got one of the highest knockout percentages in boxing. Also, the brother got 10 title defenses. 10 successful title defenses. Now, when you look in the history books, when you look at the history books, they're not going to say, oh, he didn't fight that guy. This win was against a guy who really was just all right. He was okay. He was good, but he wasn't elite. It's going to say just 10 successful title defenses. And from 2015, for 5 years, he held that belt. He was stopping everything in front of him, stopping them in dominant fashion, and he was defending that title successfully, right? No, and they wasn't the most killers of killers, but he got 10 successful title defenses. That's a lot, fam. That's a lot, and it's a reason why people were applauding him for that, because it's hard to do. I don't care who it is to successfully defend your title 10 times and go and win every single time. That's not easy to do. Even if you find guys that are tomato cans, some guys don't get up for them fights and they end up losing. Ask Mike Tyson what happened to him against Buster Douglas, right? Now, Mike was actually doing drugs and all of that, but again, he wasn't motivated. He wasn't motivated for that time. Buster Douglas was not seen as an elite of elite at the time he fought Mike Tyson. People thought of him as just like an obscurity, a guy that had some potential, but a guy that really wasn't, people weren't sold on. People didn't think he had no chance in hell against Mike Tyson. Mike went out there and got dusted off and was filling on the canvas for that mouthpiece. Y'all seen Mike filling on the canvas for that mouthpiece, right? So for Deontay Wilder to get up for those fights and win those fights with his lack of skill, with his lack of fundamentals, with his limited training, with his when all of his the limited tools he has, guys were outboxing him, and he found a way to stop those guys with that tremendous power. Right? People, whatever you want to say, 10 successful title defenses is 10 successful title defenses because you fight whoever them dudes put in front of you. So I just made the case. He made heavyweight boxing relevant again in the United States of America. I'm not speaking for the UK, because I know all y'all, a lot of people can come on here talking, we've been watching boxing over in UK, we've been watching boxing in this country, that country, okay, fine, that's cool. I know the boxing climate in America. In America, if it wasn't Floyd Mayweather Jr., nobody that really didn't watch boxing didn't know no heavyweight fighters. They didn't know none. None. I'm not lying. If I'm lying, then I'm flying, and as y'all can see, my feet are well cemented to the ground, so y'all know I'm telling the truth, right? So he brought the allure back to the heavyweight division. He got one of the highest knockout percentages, knockout like 95, 93%. That shit is ridiculous. For 40-something fights, to have that, that's amazing. I don't care. He ain't got 10 fights, 15 fights, 18 fights, 23, 24. The brother got 40-something fights and 93 or 95% knockout ratio. That's great, right? 10 successful title defenses? Come on, fam. You know what I mean? So if you look at the history of boxing, when guys got high knockout percentages, high knockout ratio, they got a lot of successful title defenses, certain things start tilting in their favor. Now, right now, it's not going to be favorable to Deontay Wilder right now. And I don't care if y'all can hate Deontay Wilder all y'all want to. I know y'all can come on here and try to attack me or whatever. Personally, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. This is my opinion. This is my channel. Y'all can get mad if y'all want to. But I know eventually, it's not popular now, but eventually people going to look at what Deontay Wilder did and for the fact that he brought allure to the fight. And when he fought Tyson Fury, those were exciting fights. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the second fight was just him. He just got mollywopped. He got ran over. And you can argue, okay, the third fight was he got overthrown, he got overpowered or whatever. But the dramatics, the flair, the drama was all through those fights with him knocking down Tyson Fury twice in the first fight, twice in the third fight, right? The first fight being awarded a draw, even though some people felt like it was a victory for Tyson Fury. The third fight, when people felt like he had dropped that first time and people thought he was done for, people thought it was going to be an exact repeat of the second fight. He showed courage, he showed guts, he showed resiliency, he showed mental fortitude, and came out there and delivered some crushing blows to drop Tyson Fury twice, man. So I think that is going to bode in his favor, man. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. Machiavelli Mills TV, I'm out. Peace. My son crying and stuff, but I'm out. Peace.